LSS is a game that didn't really grab me initially when I saw the very first gameplay video that they put out, because the gameplay looked a little bit clunky and it didn't seem like it was going to be something that I was going to be into. But the vision that the devs were talking about as they were talking about the gameplay of this game was something that I was very passionate about. Namely, they were talking about how there's not going to be any UI elements leading you by the nose. They're not really going to guide your experience. They're going to give you like a note that says something, and they expect you to actually read that note and act upon the information that you receive on that note without necessarily needing like a specific UI element telling you, go here in this direction, travel to this zone, go meet this NPC, yada yada yada. It's mostly just like stuff that you would figure out by yourself. And that is something that I was really interested in. So eventually when the team put up a demo on Steam, I was like, oh, good. I get to check it out and I get to test out the gameplay for myself. And we did a stream, you guys might remember that. I thought the game was actually really fun when I finally played it. And I feel like the first couple of gameplay videos that they put out didn't really do the game justice. So therefore, I became interested in the game, and when I went to Gamescom, I actually had a sit down with one of the devs and he gave me a little demo of Acacia Marshes, which is the area that we're in, which is the area immediately after the demo. And I was like, oh, this actually looks really interesting. And then eventually the team sent me a code so that I could check it out and give you guys my opinions on it. And today we played about 7 hours of the game on stream. And the reason why I haven't played it earlier than that, because I've had the code for a while, is because I want to experience this blind on stream, because it just feels really fun to try and figure out the puzzles and do all of that stuff live. So that's kind of like we're going to be doing with the playthrough. And in today's video, I'm just going to be telling you my opinions on the game so far based on my 7 hours or so of gameplay. So, number one, despite the fact that I've been having a whole lot of fun, it is not a flawless experience. It actually has a couple of hitches. One of the first things that you guys might be concerned with is performance, because the demo had really, really bad performance, to the point where the cinematics were like out of sync and there were a lot of problems with that stuff. So have they solved these in the final version of the game, which is something that I actually asked the dev when I was at Gamescom, and he did mention, yes, the team's been working on that diligently, and they have significantly improved the performance of the game. I can 100% confirm that, but it is still not perfect. Now, for reference, the game in here is running on my 7900 XTX rig, so it's a really beefy GPU, even though it's not the latest. The latest would be the 1970 XT if we're talking about AMD, or like one of the 50 series on NVIDIA, but the one that I'm with is the 7900 XTX, and on here I'm running the game at 4K. The processor is the Ryzen 9 7950 X3D, and let me show you guys the settings that we're running in. We are using FSR over here. We're using FSR on quality mode, because it's just kind of like to be expected. If we actually bump it all the way down to not using any upscaler, the frame rate goes down a bit to a point where I'm like, I'd rather have it be a little bit smoother, but we're not really using any frame generation. We have almost everything on Ultra. I bumped down two things, which was the anti-aliasing, because when you're playing at 4K on a 32-inch monitor, you're barely going to notice a lot of differences on anti-aliasing, and these shadows, because those are always the more demanding, resource, and you very rarely does it justify the visual fidelity that you get in exchange for bumping that down a couple of notches. But with that, we have been running between 60 and 90 throughout most of the experience, and I love how I say this, that it's actually going down to 55. We have been playing all day, so that might be affecting it as well, but it usually doesn't go down too much. The performance has been, I would say, acceptable, considering that we're playing at 4K, but there's still room for improvement. There is definitely one of the things that I'll say. In terms of audio, music, and just overall ambience, this game absolutely slaps. This has to be one of the most immersive games that I've played in quite a while. Like, I have been immersed into this throughout the whole day as I was playing through the game. And it is incredibly immersive because of the environments that the devs were able to create. Like, it just feels very realistic, even though there's obviously some super unrealistic things like that time loop that's happening over there, and those crazy mime creatures that are like dancing over there and doing their crazy shenanigans, which we're going to go down there in a couple of minutes here during this video, and I'm going to be showing you guys how the combat works and all of that. But I just really wanted to point out the detail that they've put into the audio of this game that makes it so incredibly immersive. The art style, which manages to, despite the fact that they're not pushing the highest possible visual fidelity, which is one of the things that so many AAA companies like to focus on, right? They're like, oh, we need the 8K textures and all of these crazy things. And I've been more immersed in this game because of the storytelling and the dialogues and everything that is happening out in the world, and even the storytelling through level building and all of that stuff that they've been working on. I've been more immersed in this than, a lot of other AAA titles that are punching like for maximum visuals and gorgeous this and that and the other. Like, they've just really managed to hone in on a very specific ambient that they're going for, which is like this, there's this ongoing war between the two factions and all of that stuff, and they're really portraying that in a way through just the dialogue, the music, the sounds, the everything mixed with the paranormal stuff that is happening. And it's just really surprising to me that I'm as engaged in this as I am, because like, they pulled no punches when it comes to telling the story of this game. I really don't want to spoil anything, but like, once you guys come over here and have a little chat with this dude, you guys are going to learn just how much these guys aren't pulling punches. Or once you eventually come back here, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm just going to say, once you come back here, go into that house, speak to the person that's inside that house. Yeah, it's pretty messed up, and it's been very refreshing to see what these guys are doing with the writing of this game and the storytelling of this game. It's been really, really cool. But to top it off, I told you guys, the voice acting is absolutely top notch. I'm gonna get our friend here, Captain Voss, to tell us something about Hadia. Well, should I say Hadia or Village of Jova? I don't even know, because I feel like he's gonna pop off like a maniac. Let's just go for the Hadia one. You guys get to hear him speak a little bit.
The greatest country on this spinning ball of ours? Well, if it wasn't for the Palamists bringing us down several notches. When we finally get rid of them, Hadia will rise like it once did under King Astor. He was by far our greatest monarch.
So, that's just to give you guys a little bit of a taster. But basically, whenever you are doing these dialogues, you're going to be getting a lot of information from a lot of these characters. Not to mention that even just... you get a lot of a taste of the lore of this game and the background, and they've done it so well that every time that I meet a new character, it's not like those games where I'm like, oh yeah, let me go through all the dialogue options just to make sure that I tick all the boxes. It's like, no, I'm actually listening and paying attention to what they're saying, because number one, it's not too verbose. It'll be like 2 or 3 little pieces of text that they'll read and all of that, and they deliver that through dialogue to you. But those will usually be important and add additional context to the story, which is really, really cool, particularly when you're talking about some of the main things, because like usually the stuff on the right is going to be just like, lore information and stuff that you guys can skip if you don't want to mess with. But then the investigation stuff, that's where you get like the really juicy bits. And I find like these dialogues have been really, really cool. Now, I haven't really been given options during these dialogues, so in case you guys are wondering, oh, do you get to actually make decisions, stuff like that? Doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like the story and the outcomes are going to be somewhat linear, depending on whether or not you're actually able to solve them. Because some of the quests that you're going to be getting, you're going to have to try and figure them out. So to give you guys an idea, and I understand we haven't even gotten to combat or anything like that, but that's because this part of the game is actually really important, and is going to be a significant portion of the game. You're going around trying to figure out what is happening and talking to people and doing all that. There's actually a data pad that you have here, and you get like your own board of stuff that is happening. It gives you like little itty bitty details. So I don't want to go too deep in showing information on these, but just to give you an idea, your objective initially is to just like, you need to find clues about your parents, right? And every time you meet an important character, they're actually going to go ahead and tell you information about that character, and whenever new information becomes available for that character, they will tell you more. So this is the first character that you meet, Ernest Cadell, and it tells you, oh, this guy's in a farmland. It's in a forest. He knows where the village of Jova is located because he's the one who tells you how you can get to the village of Jova, because supposedly your father lives there. And he tells you, oh, you should get an APC with the soldiers, yada, yada. And you start, he's kind of like your very first NPC that you meet. But they give you all these little details about him, all these little nuggets of information. Then there's side quests that you can do by collecting things. So, for instance, this old man has kids, and his kids, like, put out some clues then, and you have to like go through these clues to try and find like different things. You know, you get like a little treasure thing that you can get for following these clues, but none of these will tell you like, go here, here's a quest marker, go do it. It's like, no, you have to like actually look around and figure it out for yourself. And that's like the whole purpose of the game. Like, to give you guys an idea, for instance, I've picked up these keys, right? This set of keys with a car on them. No idea what this is for. No idea when I'm going to be able to use them. No idea. I'm going to have to figure it out eventually, but you know, that's the joy of it. Like, another item that I picked up would have been this, the bronze eye. I've picked this up. I have no idea what this is for. It says that it's an elegant bronze cast idol shaped like an eye. So obviously I'm going to be looking for things that look like eyeballs, and I'm going to be trying to figure out where I can actually use this, right? And you have to actually look at the notes, and you have to read the things, and you have to read notes that you find throughout the world. Most of this gets archived into this little data pad of yours, and then you have to go and figure it out, because there's no quest markers, there's no nothing. The game will warn you when you manage to like complete an objective or something like that, and it will also tell you, oh, you started like this thing, but you have to figure out for yourself how to complete it, where does it go, how to do the stuff by investigating it, and that is like one of the most compelling aspects of the game. Now, there's also combat. A lot of people will say that this is kind of like a Souls-like, and it's like, the term Souls-like has been so diluted nowadays that I'm not sure if I would consider it to be a Souls-like or not, to be completely honest. They're describing this as an action-adventure game with intense combat. And so let me just tell you guys how combat actually works, right? So you have your weapon. In this case, we have this polearm weapon. This is a polearm, even though it looks kind of like a scythe. But square attack is light attack, and then triangle will be heavy attack, but you need to charge it. So it will have several levels of charge, and then if you charge it all the way, it'll be like 3 levels. Boom, and it will do like a special strike. Now the thing is, it uses up the limbic energy, which you see on the top left-hand side, a little white gauge. That's going to be your limbic energy, and you can only recover it by doing combat and stuff like that. So yeah, but light attack, there's dodging on circle, so square light attack, triangle heavy attack, dodging on circle, and then you have a couple more tools. You have this little drone that you see here, right? You can dock it or undock it, and the drone can just like kind of follow you around. Usually I keep it docked. He also has a little flashlight, so if you turn that off, things get a little bit darker, so we keep the flashlight on for dark places and all of that good stuff. But the drone has its own abilities, so you can use things like the ability, you guys can't really see it because my face is in the way. Let me move my face here. Move the face over here. There you go. You can see at the bottom right-hand side there, we have those 3 abilities. So the triangle, or Y, is going to be a charge, A is going to be a whirlwind, and then B is going to send the drone to distract enemies, which is very useful. So for instance, we're going to come up to this enemy that's over here. We're going to go ahead, lock onto him, and then we're going to send the drone to distract him. And that basically keeps him CC'd for about 30 seconds, and that just lets you chill. The reason you want to be using this, because some of these enemies will have like a special thing attached to them, and this way you can CC him while you fight the thing that's attached to him that then will make him vulnerable, right? But anyways, attack is fairly simple. You just attack with square, and then you can block using L1, and you have a key pulse on R1. Well, a key pulse-like thing if you've played Neo. So if I attack him, you'll notice that we have the little key pulse animation booting up. And then if you press R1 at the end of that, it is actually going to heal you, both your health and your stamina. Now, an interesting little concept that they've done here is, if your health goes down, so does your stamina. So basically, your maximum stamina is always tied to your maximum health. So you want to make sure that you keep yourself healed up. But like I said, you can kind of farm health on enemies. Like, you guys are seeing me heal like a maniac. All I'm doing is landing these key pulses after my attacks. And the more attacks you do, the stronger the key pulse is going to be, which will heal you harder. And, you know, it is a pretty satisfying combat system. You also have special abilities, like, for instance, this weapon. I can throw it. Let me just see if there's an enemy here. Yeah, we'll just get this guy. I can throw this weapon like so. Bam. And then I can also use it to grab enemies like this. What that does is it will, you know, deal a ton of damage, and you get to use the special abilities of your weapon, and you get to use more than one weapon. Now, in terms of weapon types, if we go over here to the loadout, you guys can see we have dual axes, one-handed sword, two-handed sword, or great sword, and the polearm. And those have been the weapons that I found so far. I don't know if there's more or not, but these are the only weapons that I found so far. My favorite one is actually the axes, because they're just like super fast, and they have like some of the best parry timings. There's also parries, and then you can do executions if you're able to actually land parries. It's just, I find these enemies kind of hard to read, so I kind of suck at parrying. So parrying is obviously, you know, you block at the very last second, like right there, and then you get to do these sick-looking executions. This is actually one of the weaker-looking ones. But yeah, let me actually see if I can find one of the enemies that has, like, limbic things attached to him, and we can show you guys something that's a little bit more challenging. Oh, there's actually an item here? I thought I'd cleared this whole area. Let me grab that. I guess they populate the area with more consumables, because I'm fairly sure that I had cleared this, that I had wiped this place clean. Okay, this guy does not have like a special limbic entity, and I wanted to show you guys combat with one of those. You can also sprint on R3. One of the things that you gotta be careful about is you really don't want to fall into water, because you're gonna die. So do keep that in mind. Okay, you have to manually save, which is something that I'm not the biggest fan of, but you know, you kind of like get used to it eventually. So this enemy right here, he's got like a special limbic entity attached to him. That's why he looks a little bit different. So when you engage him in combat, he gets this thing. Now, the thing about this thing is that while this thing is attacking you, while this thing is in the field, he is immortal. You can't deal any damage to him. He's also a little bit more peaceful, but if you come close enough, he's going to engage you at the same time as the thing, see? And so this is where your drone comes in handy, because you can send the drone over to distract him. And now he's going to be distracted, and you can just focus on this. This doesn't help you when there's like tons of enemies. I mean, it still helps, but it's not like your end-all, be-all button, right? But it is very useful to CC enemies. Man, I'm flailing over here. Now that he's been... Now you can actually deal damage. Oh man, he punished me hard. Okay, we're trying to recover some health here. Oh, actually I have to focus. Bro, stop! Okay, we're gonna pop a heal here. Oh. Even pop the compass. Now we're gonna pop this special attack. We killed him. Our weapon leveled up, because your weapons do level up as well. They become more powerful, which is pretty cool. But herein is one of the issues with the game, and that is that even though I know I kind of fumbled the combat there, combat is usually fairly easy. I haven't really died once to combat. And we're playing on the hardest difficulty. I even put the death penalty. I very rarely even heal. Oh, damn! What the hell? Did they patch the game since I stopped playing 5 minutes ago? Jesus, that hurt. There we go. See, because like you're constantly full healing from doing the key pulsing stuff. Which means that usually you get through most combat like that without really taking too much damage. Like, even though, again, I find it so hilarious that the 2 monsters that we fought just absolutely decimated me. Because, like, all day we've been trying to get that type of challenge and it just hasn't happened. Oh, I guess it's because I'm fighting ecstasy monsters with my ecstasy weapons. Because, like, there's this system of, it's almost like elements, except instead of elements, they're emotions. And so I'm using ecstasy axes, and this is an ecstasy enemy. So I'm guessing he takes less damage, maybe? But it's still, as you guys can see, you can just, like, tear through the combat without really too much struggle. because you're constantly full healing yourself while you're shredding through enemies. But you can still swap through weapons. Like, it's still fun, but I kind of feel like it should be a little bit more challenging, because, like, if we go into the settings, where is the... Here we go. Combat difficulty preset, merciless, and we're also using the death penalty thing. Now, the death penalty is a weird one. I also don't know how I feel about it, because basically what happens is these enemies don't really respawn when you die, so that's the death penalty. The death penalty just makes them respawn. But the thing is, usually the thing that I fear the most when it comes to dying is running off of one of these cliffs right here, because you can't go on the water or you die. But ultimately, my opinions on the game up until this point, from what I've played day one, 7 hours and change, is it is tremendously fun to run around and explore. Like, exploring this game, absolutely love it. Like, I had a moment where, you know, you finish the part of the demo, and then you get sent here to the Akasha Marshes, which is a more open area. And usually in most games, when you have a situation like that, where you arrive in a new location, most games will, like, railroad you, go here, go do this, talk to this NPC, and you're like, oh, I want to go over there. It's like, no, go here, do this, talk to the NPC. Right? Most games do that. Whereas I got here, and I saw, obviously, they want you to go here, which is Jova Village. They want you to go to this village, interact with the NPCs, do all of that. But I don't want to do that. And I didn't. I just went about my merry way, started murdering things, started collecting items, clues for mysteries that I didn't even know that I was going to eventually solve. I was just roaming the world and exploring a little bit before I felt like doing the story. And that, I feel, is where this game really excels. It is in giving you the freedom to do whatever it is that you feel like doing at any given moment. And when you feel like getting on with the story, you just look at your thing, and you, like, start looking, okay, what should I be doing again? All right, here's all the clues. Let me look into all of these and figure out what's the next step that I'm going to take. And now some of you guys might be concerned about, like, oh, but if I have to, like, actually do this, won't I miss content? And it's like, yeah, some side content probably, but the main content, they give you so many clues and so many NPCs and in so many places that it's going to be hard for you to miss the main content. I believe they call that player plattering. But basically, they give you the information multiple different ways. So, for instance, this guy obviously is the guy in charge of this area, right? You cannot talk to this guy at all and still complete your main mission, because there are other characters that you eventually encounter, or items, or even just, like, little snippets of information. Because one of the things that you are told very early on in the game, so it's not a spoiler, is that your father is a blacksmith. So naturally you're going to be drawn, oh, the smithy, of course. I'm going to go to the smithy. And from there, you will find clues to continue along the main path without ever interacting with this character, or maybe even any character. And that's part of the interesting thing about the game. As a matter of fact, I encountered one of the NPCs that I was looking for when I didn't even mean to encounter him. I was just like, oh, let me just explore a little bit, and I just found an NPC that I was looking for my main quest, and I was just out exploring. So it's not going to be, at least for the main quest, it is not going to be some, like, super egregious, like, giga-hard puzzle thing to solve, but it still feels very satisfying when you go around and just do that stuff. At least to me. I'm having a ton of fun with it. I'll report more on it when we eventually advance more on the game. But for now, my first impressions are very positive. And at the price point that it's at, the biggest concern that I have is the difficulty of combat. Because the game is at like 50 bones or something like that on Steam, which I think is a pretty reasonable game. The dev that I spoke to told me that the time that you get on this game is like from 25 to like 40 hours, depending on how much completion you want to do and how much backtracking you end up doing, which I think is reasonable. And especially given the experience, which is just like, they're not giving you anything on the UI. You actually are figuring things out for yourself. I find that much more satisfying. So yeah, that's been a really cool experience. I'm enjoying Hell Is Us. I just wish the combat was more challenging. That's like probably my biggest complaint. But yeah. That's going to be it. You guys let me know what you think about the game in the comment section down below. There's a full live stream, 7+ hours of gameplay if you guys want to check that out on the channel as well. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.